Now, the National Black Business Caucus has added its voice to ongoing reaction over the anticipated makeup of the 7th administration. The body's president, Volchere Kgekwane, joins me in studio to further this discussion. Thank you so much for your time. Interesting times that we find ourselves in, but great uncertainty, and of course, markets do not like this. What is your formation stance on the election outcome?
Thank you so much for having us, Tumisang. First of all, just a small correction. I'm the CEO of the National Black Business Caucus. The president is Dr. Danisa Baloyi.
Thank you for that correction.
Yes. Look, from our side, where I stand, I represent black business, okay? And just before going deep into it, I just want to make some things clear, a couple of things clear. We represent a lot of black businesses. And in South Africa, the rhetoric is that when black people speak about the inconsistencies of development and inclusion into mainstream economy, we are classified as reverse racist. So today, I'm speaking on behalf of my constituency, which is black business. I just want to make that very clear. Because there are other people speaking on the constituency of the white element of what they call the economy.
Sure.
Okay, right. So the numbers that are spoken about in economy are numbers related to who's making a profit and who's not, and who's growing, who's not financially. But a poverty-stricken person is not featured there. That's who we represent. Now, what we make, your question about what we make about the uncertainty, I see this as an opportunity. I don't see it as a problem the way everybody seems to be showing it as a problem. The ANC has a history of running the country. They've got experience, right? They're not doing it 100% well, but they have done a lot as the ANC. This is an opportunity for the ANC, I think, to partner with those entities that will continue the trajectory and increase its momentum rather, of development and inclusive economy. Because right now, we are having all this thrown around that DA and ANC could come together. DA and ANC could never work together on anything. That would be the most imbalanced and unsustainable relationship that can ever be done. Because if you go back to 1994, a relationship similar to this one that's been suggested was created, right?
A unity government, essentially.
Yes, they call it government of national unity. That government could not agree on anything. That's why in the end, the National Party pulled out of that arrangement.
Well, we are 30 years post that, and you raised quite an interesting element there around what it is that your formation would like to see as a marriage of two minds within a coalition government in current day 2024. It seems and sounds to me like there's already a preference. Talk to me about that.
Okay. Now, I'm going to elaborate why, because this is not an emotional decision or an emotional presentation that I'm making. This is reality, okay? The DA is led by Tony Leon. Well, Tony Leon is a lead negotiator now, so he's one of the seniors of the DA. We know their background. We know Judge Leon. We know how he sentenced the late, great Honorable Solomon Mahlangu to death for no apparent reason, just because it was apartheid. That's how the DA got started. That's the history of the DA. Helen Ziller, who's also a leader of the DA, believes, and has made this very clear and public, that she believes that colonization was good for black people. She has said this before. We've had the interaction. I've argued with James Self over it on another media platform, right? Now, we cannot have people who have that mindset as people who are going to transform the very black people they believe colonization assisted us in something, and that very colonization is the reason why majority of our people are poor.
So who's the Black Business Caucus leaning towards then?
Well, I'm an African, and my constituency is African, and I believe that it's an opportunity for the ANC to lean towards other Pan-Africanist ideology-based entities to partner with the ANC. Because the ANC itself, in their last conference, decided on resolutions, took resolutions in that conference that were never implemented because of the way the ANC is and how they have different factions that don't agree on many things, right? But as a conference, they took a decision to push forward with a lot of the transformational agenda that other entities, if you take all the noise away and just look at what the profile of the EFF, of MK, PAC, Al-Jama, they're aligned with the ANC's process. So if the ANC was to bring them into confidence and partner with those entities, they could advise each other. Now it becomes more of a think tank. So what the ANC did, they can extend on by now working with other entities that can also advise them on our African agenda.
So the African agenda, which you also refer to as a transformation agenda.
Yes.
And you spoke quite descriptively about the constitution, the constituency that you represent. Who exactly within the South African black business spectrum are they, and the influence thereof? Because a number of organizations have made calls similar to yours, others that differ. Where is it that your constituency is located within the demographics of the South African business landscape?
Okay, and so thank you for that question, because that's an important one. You will speak to many people who say they represent the black business. We, the NBBC, were part of the formation of the Township Economic Development Bill, which then became an act, right? We represent those people who do not have a voice. But what happens a lot of the time is our agenda is broken up into little bits and pieces because there's so many people who come with very different agendas based on different benefits that they perceive or envisage as a possibility for themselves, right? Those people don't necessarily represent the African agenda, because before we are business people, before we are anything, we are Africans. And the agenda that we need to look at is the one that's going to put colonization to a stop on its tracks, okay? Because you must understand what colonization is. What happened in apartheid and what happened in the past under colonial rules, that was a training of colonization. Today, when our minds are captured and we think that colonization is over, that's when we're actually serving the colonizers, because they don't have to be here to benefit from what they stole from us. We do it ourselves because we've been trained that way. So a lot of those who come saying they represent black people do not understand where they are, and I feel for them, and we try to converse with them to try and educate them. But the fundamental to understand is that we need to do what's good for Africa and for Africans. We cannot be the richest countries in the world and our people are poor.
But how does that agenda then advance the economic reforms that you speak of? From a historic purpose, I totally understand. But at the same time, we live in a global world where you have the Africa Free Trade Agreement as well as a continental body that is seeking to foster the same reform that you are speaking of. And rightfully so. Earlier you alluded to, yes, the ANC in its time of government has not been 100% at ensuring that there is an accelerated progress in this regard. So where is it that the confidence is coming from with the ideologies that you are looking for in a coalition government that are going to take that baton and run with it even faster?
The confidence comes from these entities and what they've put across as what they intend to achieve. And remember, the MK party has got a lot of people who have already had experience in running government, including the leader, but also there are a lot of members in there who've got experience in running government as well, maybe back then under the ANC. The EFF is a unit that is pro-transformation, and they want financial transformation in their lifetime, right? So all the leaders who are in the EFF now, their main focus is to share the wealth of the country to everybody in the country, including the marginalized black people who nobody is really focusing on. You take the DA and put them in the driver's seat, they don't want BEE, they think it's bad. They've already acted on it by pushing it. On the 31 of July in 2022, no, October, so 31 October 2022, if you go to their website and look at that date and what they wrote about, it's about the ESCOM, the DA pushing for ESCOM to set aside BEE right? So we know that this is what they believe in. They think BE is a handout. But the parastatals of apartheid were the handout to the white people during apartheid era.
Right.
So
I mean,
we
the
need to
history of
develop
South
black
Africa
people
well
now.
documented. And
Yes.
as a parting shot, I'm interested in finding out your views around whether business should basically be checking out politics, and like we often ask as South Africans for politicians to do the same and get to the ground and, you know, do what is required. I think politicizing the matter then makes it muddied grounds.
It's difficult in South Africa or in a developing environment to ignore politics when you say you're in business.
And the same can be said about politics ignoring business, because then what economy are you then saying?
Exactly. So we need to have an African structured political environment that will allow African people to be able to participate in the mainstream economy and not be beggars on the side. You know, just on a parting shot, I'd like to say that if you look at what I do, I'm the CEO of an organization that's trying to assist and fight for black people to participate in this economy. But we are a majority. We are begging a minority to participate because there's nobody up until this point that I feel could take a strong lead and say that we need this to be changed, because we cannot have an NBBC fighting for black people to participate in a majority black economy.
And that's what you want to see.
I'd like to see that change. That is why that coalition of the Pan-Africanist movements coming together, and for once Africans speaking with one voice. It doesn't matter what the others feel. They must have to, we are the Africans, we've got the minerals. They must come to us and do things our way, because this is our Africa.
Thank you for sharing your views with us this evening. That's Volchere Kgekwane, CEO of the National Black Business Caucus.